They never expected a human to cry. The alien guards on Station Vorith had seen humans angry, loud, stubborn, and impossible to break, but not crying. So when Commander Ralvik ordered the interrogation of Lieutenant Mara Hill, no one thought the moment would echo across the galaxy like a shockwave. Mara sat in the cold metal chair, her wrists locked to the restraints. Her short brown hair stuck to her forehead, and a shallow cut above her eyebrow dripped slow, thin lines of blood. The room was silent except for the hum of the gravity stabilizer. Ralvik watched her with calm, bored eyes, as if she were just another prisoner he needed to check off a list. He didn't understand humans. None of them did. He asked again where her ship was hiding. Mara did not speak. She simply stared at him, not with defiance, but with a strange, quiet strength. It annoyed him. So he reached forward, touched the thin device to her chest, and activated it. The shock tore a breathless cry from her throat. She clenched her teeth and forced her eyes shut. The guards waited for her to shout, or scream, or beg. But she did none of that. She only whispered something under her breath, something small, something fragile. Please. Don't do this. Ralvik paused. He expected anger. He expected curses. He expected threats about how humans would come for her. But this plea, soft and frightened, confused him. He pressed the device again, harder this time. Mara gasped, her body shaking. A tear slipped down her cheek and fell to the floor, leaving a tiny dark spot on the metal. The guards leaned closer. They had never seen a human cry before. Humans were supposed to be tough. Dangerous. Capable of wiping out fleets. This girl in the chair looked too young, too thin, too small to carry the weight of her species' reputation. Ralvik only saw weakness. So humans do break, he said with a cold smile. Mara lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were wet but fierce. You don't understand, she whispered, her voice trembling. If you hurt me, they will come. Ralvik laughed. Your fleet? Your captain? They abandoned you the moment we captured your patrol ship. Mara shook her head. Not my fleet. Humans. The guards exchanged confused looks. It sounded foolish. The galaxy had many species with large armies, heavy starships, and powerful weapons. Humans were known for survival and stubbornness, but surely not emotional rescue missions. No species sent an army because someone cried. Ralvik wiped the tear from Mara's cheek with his thumb and looked at it, almost curious. You think a single tear will start a war? Mara closed her eyes. She knew what was coming. She knew they would not believe her. She whispered, barely audible, I'm not worried about a war. I'm worried about what happens before it. A long, sharp alarm suddenly echoed through the interrogation room. Emergency sirens flashed red. The gravity stabilizer trembled. The guards straightened in panic. Ralvik turned toward the door, irritation shifting into confusion. What now? He snapped. A frightened voice crackled through the room speaker. Commander, an unknown ship just exited warp near the station. It's small, human-made, but we can't identify it. It's running silent. Ralvik frowned. A single human ship? Why would they send just one? He looked back at Mara, but she kept her eyes down. The speaker crackled again, louder this time. Commander, the ship is emitting a coded flash signal. It's Old Terran Morse. We are decoding now. Static. Then a different voice spoke. A human voice. Calm. Cold. Controlled. If you have harmed Lieutenant Mara Hill, the voice said, you have 5 minutes to pray to whatever gods you believe in. Mara breathed out shakily. Not relief. Something deeper. Something heavier. Ralvik stared at her as if she had turned into a weapon right before his eyes. Who is that? He demanded. She looked up at him with hollow, tired eyes. Her name is Captain Riona Hale. She doesn't lead fleets. She leads people. And those people follow her because she never leaves anyone behind. Ralvik tried to speak, but the station shook violently. The lights flickered. A thunderous blast roared through the metal walls. A second alarm blared, hull breach warning. The guards ran for the door, fear overwhelming discipline. Ralvik grabbed Mara by the collar. What is she doing? It's one ship. Mara stared straight into his eyes. Humans don't fight fair. Another explosion rocked the station, this one closer. The temperature dropped fast as oxygen leaked somewhere beyond the walls. The gravity flickered, causing the interrogation chair to lift a few centimeters before slamming back down. Ralvik hit the emergency release, freeing Mara from her restraints. He didn't do it out of kindness. He did it because he suddenly understood she was safer than he was. He needed her alive if he wanted to negotiate. Mara stood weakly, gripping the side of the chair to steady herself. The cut on her forehead dripped again. "You should run," she said quietly. Ralvik looked insulted. "Run? From one human?" Mara shook her head slowly, almost sadly. "Not from one human. From what you made her feel." The station shook so violently that dust fell from the ceiling. Sparks jumped from a broken power panel near the door. Somewhere down the hallway, someone screamed as the bulkhead collapsed. Outside the window, the unknown human ship drifted into view, small, dark, and silent, like a shadow. No lights. No visible weapons. Yet debris from the station floated around it like snow. Ralvik felt a chill move through him. Mara watched the ship with soft eyes. "She warned you. Humans don't start wars because we're angry. We start wars because someone breaks our hearts." The lights went out. And the real attack began. The darkness inside Station Vorth felt heavy, like a living thing pressing against the walls. Emergency lights flickered weakly, trying to push away the black shadows. Mara stood still, breathing slow, trying to calm the shaking in her legs. Ralvik grabbed her arm, not roughly this time, but with desperate urgency. "You will come with me," he said. "Your captain will not fire if you are beside me." Mara almost laughed, but she was too tired. "You don't understand humans at all." Another explosion ripped through the structure. The floor lurched sideways, throwing both of them against the wall. Metal groaned like something huge was twisting the station from the outside. Distant screams echoed through the halls, mixed with alarms and the hiss of leaking air. Ralvik dragged Mara forward, forcing her to walk even though her legs were weak. "We must reach the command deck," he said. "We need control of the shields." "There are no shields," Mara whispered. "She took them down already." He glared at her. "How? That ship is too small." Mara didn't answer. There was no point explaining that humans didn't always need size, they needed creativity. And Captain Riona Hale was the most creative human Mara had ever met. The corridor ahead was filled with smoke. The ceiling lights flickered, showing brief glimpses of tangled wires, shattered floor panels, and fallen guards. Some were alive, groaning. Others were silent forever. Ralvik hesitated for a moment, staring at the destruction. "This is impossible," he muttered. "One ship cannot do this." "It isn't the ship," Mara said. "It's her." A loud, metallic screech echoed down the corridor. Something heavy slammed against a bulkhead door, once, twice, then a third time. The metal bent inward with each hit. Ralvik raised his shock device, his hand trembling, then the door exploded outward. A sphere the size of a human fist rolled out, bouncing across the floor until it stopped near Ralvik's foot. He stared at it in confusion. It beeped gently. Mara's eyes widened. "Get down." She tackled Ralvik to the floor just before the device burst open with a brilliant flash. No flames, no shrapnel, only a wave of sound that shook their bones. The shockwave shattered windows, blew doors off their hinges, and knocked every alien in the hallway unconscious. Mara's ears rang. Her vision blurred. But she pushed herself up, coughing through the thick smoke. Beside her, Ralvik struggled to stand, dizzy and dazed. "What was that?" he gasped. "A human rescue drone," Mara said. "Non-lethal. Unless you're standing too close." Ralvik looked horrified. "That small? That simple? We didn't even detect it entering the station." "You weren't supposed to." Mara limped down the corridor, using the wall for support. She didn't know where the rescue drones would lead her, but she trusted them. Captain Hale never sent equipment without purpose. Ralvik followed her, not by choice but because he was afraid of being alone. As they turned a corner, a new voice echoed through the hallway, soft but sharp. "Lieutenant Hill, respond." Mara froze. Her breath hitched. That voice. Captain Hale. Mara pressed a hand to the small comlink strapped under her collar, a backup Hale had secretly installed months ago. It crackled weakly but still worked. "I'm here," Mara whispered. "I'm okay." Ralvik's eyes widened. "She is in the station?" "No," Mara said softly. "She doesn't have to be." The comm crackled again. "Good. Keep moving forward. 3 more corridors, then take the maintenance ladder. I'll meet you in Section E." Ralvik shook his head. "Meet her?" "But she said," she threatened. Mara gave him a tired, sad look. "She wasn't threatening you, she was warning you." As they moved forward, they passed more collapsed walls, more flickering lights, more destruction that made no sense. Everything looked precise, not wild or messy. Every impact point was chosen. Every broken system disabled exactly what humans needed disabled. Ralvik swallowed hard. Your captain. She plans everything. Mara nodded. She plans for one goal, bring every human home. They reached the maintenance ladder. Cold air rushed down from above, carrying the faint smell of metal and burned wiring. Ralvik insisted on climbing first, claiming he needed to check the path for danger. Mara didn't argue. She was too tired to care. Halfway up, the ladder shook violently as another explosion boomed somewhere deep in the station. Dust rained down through the dim shaft. Mara gripped the metal rungs tighter, her injured hand screaming in pain. When they finally reached the top, the hatch slid open with a soft click. Standing in the shadows was a tall human woman in dark, flexible armor. A visor covered her face, glowing faint blue. 2 rescue drones floated near her shoulders like silent guardians. Captain Riona Hale. She stepped forward without a word, reached out, and pulled Mara into a tight, fierce hug. Mara gasped in surprise, feeling the strength in her captain's arms. You held on, Hale whispered. Mara nodded against her shoulder. I knew you'd come. Ralvik stared at them, stunned. This is who you fear? Hale turned her head toward him. Even with the visor, he could feel the cold fire behind it. I'm not the one you should fear, Hale said quietly. Fear what happens next. As if answering her, the entire station trembled again. But this time the sound wasn't from an explosion. It was from something much, much bigger arriving outside. The rumble vibrated through every metal beam of Station Vorith. Dust drifted from the ceiling like falling ash. Mara pulled back from Captain Hale, alarm tightening her chest. What was that? She whispered. Hale didn't answer right away. She tilted her head, listening through her visor's audio filters. The drones around her hovered closer, lights shifting from blue to a steady, warning red. Ralvik stepped backward, fear creeping into every line of his face. Another human ship? Impossible. Your fleet is days away. Hale finally spoke, her voice calm but sharp. That wasn't a ship jumping in. A deeper, heavier vibration rolled through the station, like something vast sliding across metal, or a massive beast brushing against the walls. The lights flickered again, dimmer each time. That, Hale said, was the station adjusting its orbit. Mara's eyes widened. Captain. They're losing control of the grav stabilizers. Hale nodded. More than losing. Someone is overriding them. Ralvik shook his head violently. No one has access to those controls except the Vorith High Council. No outsider can. A new voice boomed through the station intercom, deep and metallic, layered with static. Commander Ralvik. You have violated Vorith security protocol. Stand down for immediate tribunal review. Ralvik paled. No. No, they cannot be here. Not now. Mara turned to Hale. Who is that? The Overseer, Ralvik whispered. The highest authority of our species. They must have traced your captain's attack. They must think we are under siege. Hale tilted her head slightly. You are. Ralvik swallowed, voice shaking. The Overseer is not coming to save us. They are coming to erase us. They believe failure is contagion. If they think I allowed a human to escape, if they believe I lost control, they will purge the station. The drones beeped sharply, signaling an incoming energy surge. Hale didn't look surprised. They're powering up the internal safety purge system. Ralvik stumbled backward, grabbing the wall. No. You don't understand. That system does not save anyone. It sterilizes the station. Mara felt her stomach drop. You mean kill everyone inside? Hale nodded once. We need to keep moving. Ralvik stared at her in disbelief. You would save me? After what I did? Mara answered before Hale could. It's not about you. It's about what comes after. Hale's visor turned toward Mara, and for a moment her voice softened. We will discuss everything later. For now, stay close. Another violent tremor shook the corridor. A section of ceiling collapsed in the distance with a thunderous crash. The lights above them flickered, then died completely. Only Hale's visor and the drones cast pale circles of light around them. Ralvik tried to steady himself. Where are we going? The escape pods are too far. Hale pointed down the hall. Section E. There's a tactical docking platform. Mara frowned. There's nothing docked there. There is now, Hale said. They ran. Or tried to. Mara's injuries slowed her, and Hale kept one arm around her to steady her. The corridor twisted like a maze, with panels ripped open, wires hanging like vines, smoke seeping through cracks in the walls. Loud bangs echoed from deeper inside the station, doors locking, sections sealing, systems resetting for the purge. Ralvik stumbled as red lights snapped on overhead. That is the first warning. We have 7 minutes. Then move faster, Hale said. They rounded a corner, and froze. A group of Vorith soldiers blocked the corridor, armed and alert. Their eyes widened when they saw Ralvik. "Commander. The Overseer has ordered full control lockdown. You are to submit yourself." Their words cut off when Hale stepped forward, raising a small object no bigger than a thumb. A pulse emitter. "Close your eyes," Hale said calmly. Mara obeyed. Ralvik hesitated, then squeezed his eyes shut. A bright flash erupted, silent, invisible through closed lids, but powerful enough to drop the entire squad instantly. When Mara opened her eyes, every soldier was unconscious on the floor. Ralvik stared in horror. "Humans carry those in their pockets?" "Only the responsible ones," Hale said. They moved past the fallen soldiers quickly. The corridor curved until they reached a heavy blast door. Hale placed her palm on the panel. It instantly unlocked. Ralvik blinked. "How did you?" "She's been inside your system since before she arrived," Mara said. Hale gave a small nod. "Your security encryption is predictable." Ralvik looked genuinely offended. "Predictable?" The blast door slid open. Beyond it was a docking platform, and a ship. Not large. Not sleek. But unmistakably human-built. Its hull was matte black, as if it absorbed the light around it. 4 thrusters glowed faintly. A boarding ramp extended toward them. Mara recognized it immediately, her breath catching. "The Nightjar." Hale touched her shoulder. "It's been upgraded since you last saw it." Ralvik stared at the ship like it was a mythical creature. "You brought a stealth assault corvette? Alone?" Hale walked forward without looking back. "I didn't bring it." Mara blinked. "Wait, what?" A low, deep hum began to grow behind them, cool and smooth, nothing like the harsh station alarms. The hum of a ship approaching. Hale turned her head slightly, listening. Mara whispered, "Is that human?" Hale shook her head once. "No. That's the Overseer's ship." And then the entire station shook as something enormous docked onto its outer hull, something big enough to make even Captain Hale pause. The impact rolled through the station like thunder. Metal screamed. Bolts snapped. The floor under their feet jumped hard enough to knock Ralvik to his knees. Mara grabbed the wall and held tight while Hale steadied her with one arm. "That was not a normal docking," Mara whispered. "No," Hale said. "That was a forced clamp. They're sealing us in." Ralvik pushed himself up, panic in his eyes. "The Overseer's vessel is massive. If it attached directly to the hull, it means they intend to cut through the station. They want direct access to the central core." "Why?" Mara asked. "So they can trigger the purge manually," Hale answered. Mara felt her chest tighten. "Captain, how much time do we have?" 4 minutes, Hale said without hesitation. "Maybe less." The drones buzzed a warning tone, flashing red again. Hale immediately turned toward the Nightjar. "Move. Now." Ralvik followed, still shaken, still trying to make sense of the destruction around them. "You don't understand. If the Overseer's vessel attaches, it deploys the Judgment Ray. It wipes everything inside the sealed area. Flesh, metal, oxygen, everything becomes ash." Mara swallowed hard. "Why would your own leader destroy your entire station?" Ralvik looked away, ashamed. "The Overseer believes mistakes threaten our species. They punish failure by erasing everything connected to it." Hale gave him a cold glance. "That sounds less like leadership and more like fear." Ralvik flinched. "Humans don't understand Vorith order." Hale didn't bother answering. They reached the ship's ramp just as another quake shook the station, harder than before. The overhead lights blew out completely. Only blinking red purge alarms remained, painting the corridor in harsh crimson flashes. Mara had one hand on Hale's arm, struggling to stay upright. She whispered, her voice thin, "Captain. I don't hear other humans. Did you come alone?" Hale didn't answer immediately. She pressed a hand to Mara's back, urging her up the ramp. "Get aboard, I'll explain once we're inside." Mara hesitated but obeyed. Ralvik followed, glancing nervously at the ceiling as if expecting it to collapse. Once inside, the Nightjar sealed the ramp behind them with a metallic hiss. Soft white lights flickered on, revealing a narrow interior filled with compact stations, smooth panels, and humming power conduits. It felt like a warm heartbeat in the cold chaos of the station. Mara collapsed into a seat near the entry console, breathing hard. Hale knelt beside her. "You're dehydrated and exhausted," she said. "But you'll be fine." Mara gave her a weak smile. "I knew you'd come. Even if it was impossible." Hale's visor retracted with a faint click, revealing sharp eyes and a face streaked with sweat and soot. She placed a hand on Mara's cheek, brushing away the dried tear trail. "It wasn't impossible," she said softly. It was you. Ralvik cleared his throat, shrinking under Hale's sudden glare. We need to escape. You said 4 minutes. Less, now, Hale said. Strap in. Ralvik jumped to obey, fumbling with the harness. Mara watched Hale take the pilot's seat, her fingers moving across the controls with practiced precision. The nightjar hummed, then growled as its engines powered up. Suddenly, the entire ship shook, hard. A heavy, grinding sound echoed through the hangar. Mara stiffened. What was that? Hale checked the diagnostics. Her jaw tightened. They locked us in. Magnetic clamps. Ralvik's voice cracked. That means the Overseer knows you're here. No, Hale said. It means they're afraid. She flicked a switch. The drone lights near her console turned from red to bright blue. Mara leaned forward. What are you doing? I'm calling someone, Hale said. The ship vibrated again, this time with a different tone, deeper and rising. A signal burst pulsed through the hull, spreading outward in all directions. After a moment, a voice responded through the comm. Higher. Sharper. Human. This is the Black Flag beacon. Nightjar, identify yourself. Mara's eyes widened. Black Flag? But that's... Hale said, Special Response Unit, Authorization Hale 01. I'm activating emergency protocol. Ralvik stared. What does that mean? Hale didn't look at him. She pressed one button. One. Single. Button. A low, resonant tone filled the ship, deep and cold, like the cry of something ancient. Mara's breath caught. Captain. You didn't. Hale finally turned toward her. They hurt one of mine. The nightjar lights dimmed, then flared bright white. Outside, the walls shook with a new sound, not explosions, not alarms. Warp tears. Multiple. Dozens. Ralvik's eyes went wide in terror. What is happening? Hale stared calmly out the front viewport as blue ripples spread across the void beyond the station hall. That, she said quietly, is the Black Flag arriving. Mara whispered, but the Black Flag is a myth. No, Hale said. It's a promise. The rumbling grew louder, closer, as warp signatures smashed open around Station Vorith. Ralvik trembled in his seat. How many human ships are coming? Hale answered without hesitation. All of them. The station rattled like a dying machine as the first warp tier opened outside, bright, electric blue, slicing through the darkness of space like a blade of light. Mara stared in awe, chest tight, breath caught somewhere between fear and hope. The Black Flag fleet had arrived. Not a myth. Not a rumor. Real. Ralvik gripped the edges of his seat so hard his claws left dents in the metal. How? How is this possible? Humans never travel in such numbers. They do not organize like this. Hale didn't look at him. She didn't look at anyone. Her eyes stayed fixed on the shimmering distortions outside the viewport. They do, she said softly, but only for one reason. Mara whispered, for one of their own. Exactly. Outside, another tier burst open, then another, and another. Sleek human ships of every design slid through the rips in space. Some were small and fast, others large with heavy armor plating. A few had no identifying marks at all, black, silent, shaped like predatory birds. Every one of them carried the same insignia somewhere on their hull. A black flag with a single white line running through the center. The symbol of humans who swore never to abandon their own. Ralvik's voice trembled. This is a war fleet. No, Hale said quietly. This is a retrieval. Another tremor shook the station as the Overseer's ship began adjusting its clamps, preparing for the purge. Mara could hear the low hum building in the distance, a deep vibration that seemed to press against her bones. Captain, she whispered, we're running out of time. I know, Hale said. Nightjar, release counterclamps. The ship hissed as tiny explosive bolts fired along its hull. Sparks showered the floor of the hangar as the nightjar strained against the magnetic locks. Ralvik shook his head in disbelief. You will tear the ship apart. But the clamps didn't break the nightjar. The nightjar broke them. Metal screamed as the stealth corvette ripped free, sliding forward with a violent jolt that nearly threw Ralvik from his seat. Hale stabilized the ship with a flick of her wrist, her movements precise and controlled. Hold on, she said. The ship accelerated toward the blast door, but it remained sealed. Ralvik panicked. We are trapped. No, Hale said. We're not. She pressed another switch. A bright beam fired from the front of the nightjar, a laser so focused it sliced the sealed blast door in half like soft fruit. The metal plates fell away, revealing the damaged corridor outside. Mara stared. You upgraded the cutting array. Hale allowed a faint smile. I had a feeling we'd need it someday. The nightjar shot forward, clearing the docking bay just as a loud, rising hum shuddered through the walls. Ralvik tensed. That's the judgment ray charging. Hale slammed the thrusters, pushing the ship into a sharp turn down the corridor. Panels and debris flew aside as the nightjar forced its way through the too tight space, scraping the walls but holding course. Mara felt the hair on her arms rise. The charging hum behind them grew deeper, darker. Captain, she said, her voice shaking, we're not fast enough. Hale's jaw tightened. We don't need to be. The drones around her beeped a new signal, clear, urgent, and perfectly timed. Mara recognized it instantly. Beacon lock? Yes, Hale said. The black flag is targeting the Overseer's ship. Ralvik's breath hitched. They would dare attack the Overseer itself? They threatened a human, Hale said. So yes. The hum of the judgment ray grew to a scream. A blinding flash lit the corridor behind them. But it wasn't from the Overseer. The entire station shook as a black flag dreadnought fired a precision strike, one blast, clean and silent, punching straight through the hull of the Overseer's vessel. The judgment ray's power cut instantly. The lights flickered. Then the station fell eerily silent. Ralvik stared at the viewport in shock. They destroyed the Overseer weapon. But the vessel is still alive, Hale finished. They hit only the weapon systems. Why? Ralvik whispered. Because humans don't kill unless there's no other choice. Another quake rumbled, this one weaker. The station was failing, its structure starting to fold inward under stress. Hale pushed the engines harder. Finally, the nightjar burst through a torn section of hull into open space. And Mara gasped. Dozens of human ships formed a protective circle around them, engines glowing bright blue, weapons aimed outward at whatever threat might still remain. Ralvik stared in complete disbelief. All this? For one soldier? Mara looked at him, her eyes soft but proud. For one human heart. The calm crackled as a voice spoke from the largest black flag ship. Nightjar, confirm extraction. All ships stand ready for withdrawal. Hale answered, extraction complete. Prepare for retreat jump. Mara let out a long, shaking breath. Relief washed over her so powerfully she almost cried again. But then, a deep, echoing boom rumbled behind them. Mara turned slowly toward the dying station. Captain Hale's face hardened. Ralvik whispered, No. No, the Overseer ship is reactivating. On the broken vessel's surface, new lights flickered on, red ones. Not survival lights. Weapons. Hale rose from her seat. Mara, she said quietly, stay strapped in. Mara's eyes widened. Captain. What are you going to do? Hale stepped toward the armory panel, calm and absolute. I am going, she said, to end this. The armory panel slid open with a sharp metallic hiss. Inside, rows of compact weapons gleamed under cold white lights, sleek rifles, shock blades, compact rail pistols, and a single matte black device that looked far too small for the terror it carried. Mara's breath caught. Captain. No. You can't be serious. Hale took the black device without hesitation. It was about the size of her palm, flat on one side, curved on the other. No markings. No buttons. Just a thin silver stripe across the top. Ralvik stared, confused. What is that supposed to be? Hale didn't answer him. She turned to Mara. It's the only thing the Overseer will respect. Mara shook her head, her voice trembling. That's a last resort asset. We're not at last resort. Hale held Mara's gaze for a long moment. Mara, she said softly, they broke you. The room fell silent. Mara looked down at her hands. Her wrists were bruised. Her skin was cut, scraped, burned. Her voice was thin. Her body shaking. She could still feel the cold metal of the interrogation chair. The sting of the shock device. Ralvik's laughter. They didn't break me, Mara whispered. No, Hale said. Because I came before they could. Mara looked up sharply, and saw something in Hale's eyes she had never seen before. Fear. Not of the Overseer. Fear of losing Mara. Hale stepped closer and placed the device into a magnetic holster on her belt. Mara, she said, voice steady but painfully gentle, if I don't stop that ship, the Overseer will hunt every one of us. You. Me. Every human in this fleet. Every human in the galaxy. Ralvik's voice finally cut in, panicked. You cannot face the Overseer's vessel alone. Their elites are inside. They're sentinels. Their core mind. Humans cannot. Hale turned, and her stare froze in mid-sentence. Don't ever, she said quietly, tell me what humans cannot do. The nightjar shook again. The overseer vessel was charging weapons, slowly, imperfectly, but enough to kill them if they stayed in range. The black flag ships maintained formation but didn't open fire. Every pilot was waiting for Hale's command. Mara struggled against her restraints. Then let us all fight. Don't go alone. But Hale shook her head. This isn't their fight. It's ours. Ralvik blinked. Ours? You mean, yours and the overseer? No, Hale said. She touched Mara's shoulder with a tenderness that made Mara's chest ache. Ours. Mine and Mara's. They hurt someone under my command. Under my protection. And I will answer that myself. Mara's throat tightened. She reached out and grabbed Hale's wrist. If you go, I go. Hale's expression shifted, softening, breaking for just a heartbeat. I can't let you, she whispered. I'm not asking for permission. Hale exhaled slowly. The moment stretched between them, charged with fear and loyalty and something too deep to name. Hale finally looked away. You can't even stand without help. I can shoot. Hale didn't argue with that. She knew it was true. But she still shook her head. You're not losing consciousness on that ship. Not while I'm fighting. Mara clenched her jaw. Then we both find a way to make this something we can walk away from. Hale's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. Still stubborn. You trained me, Mara said. Hale reached out and pressed a hand to Mara's cheek, thumb brushing lightly just under her eye. I know, she whispered. A long pause. Then Hale straightened, visor sliding back down over her eyes. Ralvik, she said, her voice turning sharp and commanding. You're staying here. Move to the back of the ship and stay out of the way. Ralvik swallowed. And if I refuse? Then I will stun you and drag you there, Hale replied without emotion. Ralvik did not test her. As he scrambled toward the rear compartment, Mara strained toward Hale. I can still be useful. Let me help. Hale looked at her for a long moment, too long. Thorn. Then she stepped closer once more, kneeling to be at Mara's eye level. You already helped, she said softly. You survived. Mara felt tears burn her eyes. That's not enough. For me, Hale said, it is. The nightjar jolted violently, alarms blared, lights flashed. The overseer vessel had locked weapons onto them. Hale rose to her full height. Time had run out. She turned toward the airlock. Mara shook her head violently. Captain, please, don't do this alone. Hale paused at the door, her hand on the release. And without turning around, she said. I'm not alone. Mara froze. Before she could ask what that meant, the nightjar's sensors pinged, sharp, bright, urgent. A cloaked human ship decloaked directly beside the nightjar, close enough to shake the hull. Not black flag. Not military. A single signature. Hale class support operative, Unit 01. Mara's eyes widened. Captain. You brought Omega 1? The airlock opened. And Hale replied. Yes. Because this time, I'm not coming back without you. The airlock slid open with a cold metallic shiver, revealing the dark hull of the Hale-class support craft. Sleek, silent, and deadly, it hovered beside the nightjar like a shadow with a pulse. Its lights glowed faint white around the edges, diffused and soft. Nothing about it looked aggressive, yet every part of it screamed danger. Mara stared, breath tight. Omega 1 wasn't a ship. It was a weapon wearing the shape of one. And it only ever deployed for one reason, to defend a Hale. Hale stepped toward the airlock, but Mara strained forward in her seat. Captain. If you take Omega 1. You're making this a kill mission. Hale paused at the threshold. It became a kill mission the moment they hurt you. Mara's heart hammered in her chest. Don't say that. We don't kill unless we must. Hale turned slightly. We must. The ship shuddered again, another weapons lock warning, this one sharper, more insistent. The overseer vessel was powering something larger, something meant to wipe out multiple ships at once. Even through the nightjar's hull, the vibrating whine was loud enough to rattle their bones. Ralvik stumbled back into the room, wild-eyed. It's charging the singularity cannon. You must run, humans cannot fight that. Hale didn't look at him. Humans don't run. The airlock lights turned blue. Omega 1 sent a soft chime, an acknowledgement. A greeting. A promise. Hale stepped out. Captain, Mara cried. Hale stopped at the halfway point and looked back, not commander to soldier, not captain to subordinate, but person to person. You held on, Hale said. Now let me do the rest. The airlock closed, locking Mara inside the nightjar as Omega-1 detached, slid backward into open space, and turned toward the Overseer vessel. Mara felt her chest collapse inward. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't blink. Could only watch as Hale's tiny figure stepped onto the exterior plating of Omega-1, her boots magnetizing to the hull. Omega-1's surface rippled, like it was waking up. Panels shifted. Veins of blue light crawled along its sides. Heat vents opened. The craft stretched itself like a living thing preparing for a fight. Ralvik stared in horrified awe. That is not a human ship. It is, Mara whispered. And it's the most human thing we've ever built. Omega-1 moved. Not flew. Moved. Silently. Instantly. One moment it hovered near the nightjar, next, it stood directly in front of the Overseer vessel, like a ghost blinking between shadows. The Overseer reacted at once. Weapons rotated. Cannons glowed. Panels opened along the vessel's side, exposing rows of heavy plasma launchers. The ship was preparing to fire everything at once. Mara slammed her fist against her harness. Hale, stop. It's too much. But Hale's voice came through the nightjar's speakers, calm, steady, unshakable. Nightjar, maintain distance. Captain. That's an order. Mara bit back a sob. Ralvik braced himself against the wall. Your captain is going to die. Mara's voice cracked. No. She's not. Outside, a thin line of silver light peeled from Omega-1's hull. Then another. And another. Until dozens of silver streaks circled the craft like orbiting blades. Ralvik's eyes widened. What is that? Adaptive countermass, Mara said, voice trembling. She's turning Omega-1 into a reflective barrier. The Overseer vessel fired. A blinding lance of red energy shot across space, straight toward Hale and Omega-1. The beam hit. And shattered. Light fractured into thousands of tiny sparks, each tiny spark redirected back toward the Overseer vessel. The redirected blast slammed into the ship's outer armor, tearing plates free and exposing burning circuitry beneath. Ralvik staggered backward. That's impossible. No ship can do that. From the speakers, Hale's calm voice replied. Then your engineers should build better ships. The Overseer vessel roared to life, unleashing barrage after barrage, missiles, plasma bursts, thermal waves, but Omega-1 bent and twisted around each attack, its reflective barrier moving like a liquid shield under Hale's control. Mara's voice was barely a whisper. She's doing it. She's actually doing it. But she knew Hale couldn't hold forever. Omega-1 was powerful, but Hale was still human. And she was fighting a ship designed to destroy civilizations. The Overseer vessel changed tactics. A massive door opened on its underside. Ralvik's face turned white. The core mind is deploying. A giant figure descended, a sentinel, twice the height of a human, covered in shifting black armor. It landed on the outer hull of the Overseer vessel with a ground-shaking thud. Hale's voice sharpened. Omega-1. Lock target. Mara gasped. Captain, no. Sentinels are made to kill anything organic. Hale whispered, not today. Omega-1 flashed forward and dropped Hale directly onto the station wreckage beneath the Sentinel. The two forces faced each other, small human captain versus towering alien supersoldier. The Overseer's voice boomed across space, amplified through every channel. Submit, human. You are alone. Hale tilted her head, unhooked the small black device from her belt, and said. No, I have all I need. The device unfolded in her hand. A pulse detonator, modified. Hale pressed her thumb to the silver stripe. A soft tone sounded. Mara's heart stopped. Captain. Don't. Hale whispered, so quietly Mara almost missed it. For Mara. The detonator released a blinding white pulse that drowned the Sentinel in a wave of force, tearing its armor apart and ripping it from the hull. It collapsed into the void in smoking pieces. The Overseer ship's lights flickered. Mara felt tears spill down her cheeks. Ralvik stared, shaking in disbelief. Hale stood alone in the aftermath, breathing hard, visor cracked but upright. She raised her wrist calm. Nightjar, she said. Mara. I'm coming back. Mara covered her mouth, sobbing. I knew you would. Hale turned toward Omega-1. But Omega-1 wasn't alone anymore. Hundreds of human ships, black flag and civilian and military alike, began surrounding her in a protective ring as the Overseer vessel powered down completely, defeated. For the first time in their species' history, humans stood united around one wounded girl and the captain who refused to lose her. And as Hale stepped onto Omega-1's hull to return home, Mara knew one truth with a clarity deeper than breath. They hadn't started a war. The galaxy had. Because they broke a human heart. And humanity answered.